They said he had 48 hours to live. His brain was destroying itself from the inside. 5 senior doctors had given up. His wife was choosing his coffin. His children were saying their final goodbyes. The machines were beeping slower, slower, slower. Then a young doctor with trembling hands walked into that room and saw something everyone else had missed. Something so small, so hidden, that it had been there all along, waiting to either save him or let him die. This is the story of the night death lost. And humanity won. But the cost was almost too much to bear. Thomas Matthews was the kind of man who made life work for everyone around him. At 44, he was a delivery driver for a local bakery in Stockport, but to his family, he was so much more than that. Every morning at 4:30, Tom would wake before the sun, brew a strong cup of tea, and kiss his wife Sarah on the forehead before heading out into the quiet streets. By the time his children, Emily, 16, and Oliver, 12, woke for school, there were always fresh pastries on the kitchen table. Little treats he'd saved from yesterday's route. Sarah worked part-time at a care home, but it was Tom's steady wage and tireless energy that kept the household running. He fixed the boiler when it broke, helped Emily with her university applications, coached Oliver's Sunday league football team, and still found time to visit his elderly mum every Thursday evening without fail. But what people didn't know, what Tom kept quietly to himself except for Sarah, was his dream. For 20 years, he'd been saving. Little by little. £5 here, £10 there. He wanted to open a small bakery of his own. Not something grand. Just a neighborhood shop where people felt welcome. He'd already found the property. A tiny corner unit near the high street. The lease was nearly within reach. 2 more months of saving, maybe 3. He could taste it. Life was good. Simple, but good. On a bright Saturday morning in early March, Tom was helping Oliver practice penalties in the back garden. Sarah was laughing from the kitchen window, filming them on her phone. Emily was revising inside, music playing softly from her room. The sun was shining. The neighbors waved. Everything was exactly as it should be. Then Tom missed the ball. Not just missed, he stumbled. His left leg seemed to forget how to move. Oliver laughed, thought his dad was mucking about. But Tom's face went strange. Confused. He blinked hard, shook his head, tried to focus. Dad? You all right? Yeah, just felt a bit dizzy, son. By that evening, Tom had a pounding headache. By Sunday, he couldn't remember where he'd put his car keys, his phone, his shoes. By Monday morning, Sarah found him sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the wall, drenched in sweat, muttering words that made no sense. Tom? Tom, love, talk to me. His eyes met hers, but there was no recognition. Just fear. The ambulance came within 12 minutes. Emily held Oliver as he cried, watching their father, strong, steady, always their dad, being carried out on a stretcher, his body jerking with tremors he couldn't control. At the hospital, the doctors ran test after test. Blood work. Scans. Neurological exams. The words they used were long and clinical. Encephalopathy. Seizure activity. Acute confusion. But none of them could say why. Sarah sat in the corridor, phone pressed to her ear, calling Tom's mum, her own sister, Tom's boss. Her voice cracked with every conversation. Emily stopped going to school. She sat beside her mother, rigid and silent, her textbooks untouched. Oliver refused to eat. He just wanted his dad to come home and play football again. The happiness, the laughter, the weekend plans, the small dream of a bakery felt like it belonged to a different family now. Everything had collapsed. And they didn't even know what they were fighting. In his hospital bed, Tom's condition worsened. The tremors spread. His speech became garbled. He didn't recognize his own children when they were allowed in to see him. Sarah held his hand and felt it slip away, not physically, but in every way that mattered. The doctors called it unidentified acute neurological decline. They promised they were doing everything they could. But deep down, in the antiseptic-scented silence of that ward, nobody knew what was killing Tom Matthews. And time was already running out. By the end of the first week, the Matthews family had heard the word specialist so many times it lost all meaning. Tom was transferred to a larger hospital in Manchester, where a senior neurologist named Dr. Patel took over his case. Dr. Patel had 30 years of experience. He'd seen rare diseases, unusual presentations, medical mysteries that had stumped entire teams. Surely, Sarah thought, he would know. But after 3 days of observation, more scans, a lumbar puncture, and endless blood panels, even Dr. Patel seemed uncertain. "We've ruled out meningitis, stroke, and most viral infections," he told Sarah in his office, his voice kind but strained. "His inflammation markers are elevated, but we can't pinpoint the source. We're treating symptoms, seizures, fever, agitation, but without knowing the cause." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. They tried steroids. No improvement. Antibiotics for a possible hidden infection. Nothing. Antivirals. Immunosuppressants. Each treatment was a new hope, and each failure crushed the family a little more. Tom's mum stopped sleeping. She sat in the hospital chapel for hours, rosary beads clutched in her trembling hands. Emily's teachers stopped calling about her missed coursework. Oliver started wetting the bed again, something he hadn't done since he was 5. Sarah moved through life like a ghost, her days measured in hospital visits, vending machine coffee, and conversations with doctors who had fewer answers each time. A second specialist was called. Then a third. An infectious disease expert from London reviewed the case remotely. A toxicology consult was ordered in case of environmental poisoning. Nobody found anything. And Tom kept getting worse. His moments of lucidity became rare and brief. Once, he opened his eyes and saw Sarah. He whispered, "The bakery, did we?" and then he was gone again, lost inside his own dying mind. Sarah sobbed so hard a nurse had to help her out of the room. By day 12, the senior doctors began using a different tone. Gentle. Soft. Apologetic. "We're doing everything we can, but you need to prepare yourselves. His brain function is deteriorating rapidly. If we can't identify the cause soon." They didn't say death. But it hung in the air like smoke. That's when Dr. Amelia Clark first appeared. She was young, 28, barely 2 years out of medical school. She'd been assigned to shadow Dr. Patel's team as part of her rotation in neurology. She wasn't supposed to speak much, just observe and learn. But she'd been watching Tom's case from the beginning. Every test. Every result. Every failed treatment. And something didn't sit right. Amelia had always been the cleverest in her class. Top marks in diagnostics, a brain like a steel trap for patterns and details. But she had almost no real-world experience. The senior doctors were kind to her, but dismissive. She was there to learn, not to lead. Still, every night after her shift, she went home to her tiny flat in Salford and read through Tom's notes again. She cross-referenced symptoms. She checked rare disease databases. She couldn't let it go. Maybe it was because she'd seen Sarah collapse in the corridor after hearing the latest bad news. Maybe it was because Oliver had asked her, with wet, desperate eyes, "Can you fix my dad?" Or maybe it was because she became a doctor to save people, and she couldn't stand watching someone die when her gut told her there was something they were missing. On the morning of day 14, Dr. Patel told the family to say their goodbyes. Tom was unresponsive now, his brain swelling despite medication. The window for recovery was closing. Amelia stood at the back of the room as the family gathered around his bed. Emily was sobbing into her grandmother's shoulder. Oliver wouldn't look. Sarah laid her head on Tom's chest, whispering words only he would never hear. Amelia felt her hands curl into fists. Her heart pounded. She felt sick. Helpless. Angry. And then she made a decision. She would try. Even if she failed. Even if she was wrong. Even if the senior doctors thought she was overstepping. Tom Matthews was not going to die. Not on her watch. She didn't have experience. But she had her mind, her training, and something the others had lost. She still had hope. The lab results came back at 2:34 a.m. Amelia was still in the hospital, slumped in a chair outside the ICU, her eyes half closed from exhaustion. Her phone buzzed. She jolted awake, nearly dropping it. The email subject read, "Urgent, Matthews extended panel results." Her hands trembled as she opened it. Positive. Positive. A rare post-streptococcal autoimmune antibody. The chest infection Tom had suffered weeks earlier hadn't been just a simple bug, it had been caused by a specific strain of bacteria that, in extremely rare cases, triggered the immune system to attack the brain. The original antibody test had missed it because no one had known to look for that specific marker. But now they knew. And now they could fight it. Amelia sprinted down the corridor, her footsteps echoing in the silent hospital. She found Dr. Patel in the doctor's lounge, asleep in a chair. She shook him awake. "It's post-strep autoimmune encephalitis. We need to add IVIG and targeted antibiotic therapy. Now." He blinked at her, groggy, then saw the results on her phone. His eyes widened. Within the hour, Tom was started on intravenous immunoglobulin and a specialized antibiotic protocol. They continued plasmapheresis. It was an all-out assault on the rogue immune response, tearing his brain apart. But there were no guarantees. His body was weak. The damage was severe. The window was almost closed. Sarah, Emily, and Oliver were brought into a private room and told what was happening. Sarah couldn't speak. She just nodded, clutching her children, her lips moving in silent prayer. The first 24 hours were agony. Tom remained unresponsive. The machines beeped steadily. His vitals held, but barely. Amelia didn't leave. She stayed by his bedside, checking monitors, adjusting medication drips, reviewing every trend. She hadn't slept in over 30 hours. Dr. Patel tried to send her home. She refused. Then, on the second day, something changed. Tom's fever dropped. Just half a degree. But it dropped. His seizure activity quieted. On the third day, his eyes moved beneath his lids. REM sleep. His brain was resting. Healing. On the fourth day, 72 hours after Amelia had identified the true cause, Tom Matthews opened his eyes. Sarah was holding his hand. She gasped, her body going rigid with shock. "Tom? Tom, love, can you hear me?" His lips moved. Dry. Cracked. But his voice came. "Sarah." She collapsed against him, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. Emily and Oliver rushed in, wrapping their arms around their father, crying and laughing at the same time. Tom's mum stood in the doorway, hands over her mouth, tears streaming down her wrinkled cheeks. Amelia watched from the corner of the room. She didn't intrude. This moment wasn't hers. But her own cheeks were wet, her heart so full it hurt. Dr. Patel stood beside her, his hand on her shoulder. "You did it," he said quietly. She shook her head. "We did it." "No, Amelia. This was you. You didn't give up when the rest of us did." 3 weeks later, Tom was discharged. He still had some recovery ahead, physiotherapy, cognitive rehab, but the doctors were confident he'd make a full recovery. The day he left the hospital, he insisted on stopping by the neurology unit. He was in a wheelchair, still weak, but his eyes were clear. Bright. Alive. Sarah pushed him into the corridor where Amelia was reviewing charts. She looked up, surprised. "Tom. You're going home." He nodded, his voice still a bit rough. "Wanted to say thank you." "Proper, like." "You don't have to." Yes, I do. He reached out, and she took his hand. They told me what you did. That you fought for me when no one else would. You gave me my life back. Gave my family their dad back. Sarah stepped forward, tears in her eyes. We'll never forget this. Ever. Emily and Oliver stood behind their mum. Emily smiled, her first real smile in weeks. Oliver gave Amelia a small, shy wave. Amelia crouched down beside the wheelchair. You've got a dream to finish, Mr. Matthews. A bakery, I heard. Tom's face broke into a wide grin. That's right. And when it opens, you're getting free cakes for life. She laughed. I'll hold you to that. As they left, Amelia stood in the corridor, watching the family disappear around the corner. She felt the exhaustion in her bones, the weight of everything she'd carried. But she also felt something else. Purpose. She'd become a doctor to help people. To save lives. And for the first time since she'd graduated, she truly understood what that meant. It wasn't just about knowledge or tests or textbooks. It was about seeing people. Really seeing them. Refusing to let them become just another file. Another hopeless case. It was about humanity. Dr. Patel approached, holding 2 cups of tea. He handed her one. How do you feel? She smiled, her eyes still on the empty corridor. Like I know why I'm here. He nodded. Good. Because there's another difficult case downstairs. And I think you should take the lead. Her eyebrows lifted. Really? Really? Amelia took a deep breath. Took a sip of tea. And nodded. Let's go. Because sometimes, miracles don't come from experience or equipment or the biggest hospitals. Sometimes, they come from a single person who refuses to stop caring. Who sees a human being, not just a patient. Who believes that every life is worth fighting for. Even when the world says it's impossible. That's when humanity wins. And that's when the real healing begins.